and so I stayed home, following my doctor's advice. Sandra's fury was immediate and unrelenting. Sandra left me 3 voicemails today.
Only 3? What did she say?
That if I don't show up by Monday, I'm fired.
Let her fire you. We'll fight it. And trust me, we'll win. That woman is insane and doesn't care about the law at all.
Sandra didn't wait until Monday. The doorbell rang early Saturday morning. Ryan and I exchanged a puzzled glance before I lumbered over to the door and opened it. There stood Sandra, red-faced and seething.
Melanie, we need to talk.
I don't think there's anything to discuss. I am staying home for the health of my child, and if you want me to keep working, then it will have to be remotely or not at all until after my leave is complete.
Oh, I disagree,
she said, pushing past me into the living room. Sandra's eyes darted around like a predator searching for prey.
If you won't come into the office, then you're fired. I'm here for company property.
Sandra started rummaging around and searching through dresser drawers and in closets. I tried to stop her, but she slapped me and pushed me aside. My name is Melanie, and I've always been someone who values balance. A steady job, a loving husband, and the dream of raising a family kept me grounded. But life has a way of throwing curveballs, and sometimes the people you trust to maintain order are the ones who bring chaos. For me, that person was Sandra, my boss at Horizons Consulting. At first glance, Sandra seemed competent. She ran a tight ship, and on my first day, I admired her confidence. But it didn't take long to realize that her confidence wasn't just self-assurance. It was arrogance, laced with cruelty.
Melanie!
Yes, Sandra?
This report you submitted, did you even read it before handing it to me?
Of course. Is there something wrong?
Is there something wrong? There's always something wrong. I told you to summarize the quarterly projections, not write a dissertation. I don't have time to read through all of this.
I'm sorry, Sandra. You said to be thorough, and I felt that I should include as much information as possible.
Well, you thought wrong. Redo it and be quick about it. If it's not on my desk by the end of the day, you'll be in serious trouble.
I was barely 3 weeks into the job, but this was Sandra's style. Public humiliation, impossible standards, and a total lack of empathy. At first, I thought I could handle it. I told myself to keep my head down, do my work, and avoid her wrath. After all, this was my first real job, and I assumed that all companies were like this. It was just what you would have to deal with in the real world. Boy, was I wrong. To make matters worse, Sandra didn't respect boundaries. One day, I overheard my colleague Greg on the phone. He had taken a week off for his honeymoon, but Sandra called him while he was on his trip in a rage. She even had the call on speakerphone so that we could all hear her chew him out.
Greg, where's the Thompson file? I need it now.
I don't have it with me. I'm in Hawaii, Sandra.
Hawaii? You should have thought about that before leaving the office in chaos. Figure it out or don't bother coming back.
But how can I do that? I'm thousands of miles away.
I don't care. Your incompetence and lack of foresight is not my problem, Greg. Figure it out. Don't be such a child and act like a man for crying out loud.
It wasn't just Greg. When Kim took a sick day, Sandra drove to her house and demanded she work remotely. Kim later told us what happened, and I have no problem believing her.
You're not dying, are you? Then stop being dramatic and log in.
Sandra, I have the flu. The fever is so bad that I can barely think straight.
I don't care. Our clients demand a high level of work. Take an ice bath and get to work.
I didn't know how Kim stayed calm. I admired her for it. But deep down, I wondered how long I'd last before Sandra set her sights on me. And then I got pregnant. Ryan, my husband, was overjoyed when I told him. We'd been trying for over a year, and seeing the excitement in his eyes made all the struggles worth it.
We're going to be parents.
I can't wait for our child to arrive and for our family to be complete. For a while, I felt unstoppable. Even Sandra couldn't dampen my spirits, at least not at first. But the pregnancy wasn't easy. By the 5th month, the exhaustion was overwhelming. Dizziness and cramps plagued me daily, and my doctor advised me to consider an early maternity leave. I dreaded bringing it up with Sandra, but my baby's health had to come first.
Maternity leave? Do you have any idea how much strain this puts on the team?
I'm willing to work remotely when I feel up to it.
No, we don't pay you to try your best from home. Either show up in person or don't show up at all.
I will try my best to keep the workflow up. Sandra, please understand. I'm pregnant and I barely have enough energy to stand up, let alone walk around an office all day long. This is important for my health and the health of my baby.
Do you honestly think I care about the brat you are carrying around? Figure it out. Drink more coffee if you need the energy. But I expect to see you here in the office working at 110%.
Ryan was furious when I told him. He had always known Sandra to be a complete jerk, but this was a new low.
She can't legally do this. You're legally entitled to your maternity leave and can start it whenever you want to.
Maybe not, but Sandra doesn't care about laws. She cares about control. And yes, I know I can start now if I want, but she'll make it difficult for me.
Well, if she does, then she can answer to me.
The choice was clear. Ryan definitely supported me, and I knew that starting my leave early was the right choice, and so I stayed home, following my doctor's advice. Sandra's fury was immediate and unrelenting. Sandra left me 3 voicemails today.
Only 3? What did she say?
That if I don't show up by Monday, I'm fired.
Let her fire you. We'll fight it. And trust me, we'll win. That woman is insane and doesn't care about the law at all.
Sandra didn't wait until Monday. The doorbell rang early Saturday morning. Ryan and I exchanged a puzzled glance before I lumbered over to the door and opened it. There stood Sandra, red-faced and seething.
Melanie, we need to talk.
I don't think there's anything to discuss. I am staying home for the health of my child, and if you want me to keep working, then it will have to be remotely or not at all until after my leave is complete.
Oh, I disagree,
she said, pushing past me into the living room. Sandra's eyes darted around like a predator searching for prey.
If you won't come into the office, then you're fired. I'm here for company property.
Sandra started rummaging around and searching through dresser drawers and in closets. I tried to stop her, but she slapped me and pushed me aside. Then Ryan, who was working in his home office, heard me shouting and rushed to meet us.
What are you doing?
She has my laptop and files. I need them, and I'm not leaving until I find them.
First of all, they're not yours. They're company issued. And second, you can't just barge into someone's home. You need to leave immediately.
Don't tell me what I can and can't do.
Ryan stood his ground, but Sandra was relentless. She lunged for my laptop on the coffee table, knocking over a lamp in the process. Ryan grabbed her wrist to stop her, easily overpowering her.
Don't you dare touch me.
I have no choice. You are damaging our belongings.
One of her flailing hands connected with Ryan's face. He staggered but managed to wrestle her away from the laptop.
That's enough.
Ryan shouted, pushing her backward. Sandra stumbled, tripping over the fallen lamp and hitting her head on the coffee table. She collapsed in a heap, groaning. The room fell silent, except for Sandra's ragged breathing. Ryan, call the police.
And an ambulance too, it would seem.
The officers arrived within minutes and took stock of the whirlwind of damage that Sandra had caused. Sandra regained consciousness just as the officers arrived and began ranting about theft and insubordination.
They stole company property. I was just retrieving it.
Ma'am, you entered their home without permission, caused property damage, and assaulted this woman and man. You're the villain here. Now cooperate or we will be forced to subdue you.
Of course, Sandra resisted them, and the officers were forced to use their batons on her in an attempt to calm her. Watching Sandra get escorted out in cuffs felt surreal. For years, she had been untouchable, a tyrant who ruled through fear. The aftermath was both exhausting and vindicating. Colleagues came forward with stories of Sandra's abuse. Greg shared the voicemail she'd left on his honeymoon. Kim described the day Sandra barged into her home. Even the cleaning staff revealed how Sandra had berated them for missing imaginary spots on her desk. Emails surfaced, exposing Sandra's toxic leadership. The company's senior management, eager to save face, fired her within 48 hours.
We deeply regret the hostile work environment Sandra created. Effective immediately. Sandra is terminated.
Of course, that was wonderful news, but that wasn't all of it. The company didn't want to look bad in the eyes of the public, and so they set about making amends. For me, they allowed me to receive full maternity leave at full pay, not just partial, like they were legally obligated to. They also promised me a raise, a bonus, and a new office upon my return after my leave was finished. But the best news came last. Rachel, my closest friend and mentor, was promoted to Sandra's position. Over the years, Rachel had been the one person that I could rely on when things felt hopeless at work. And knowing that she would be my new boss filled me with happiness.
I promise things will be different.
Oh, I know that they will be. I know I can trust you. Under Rachel's leadership, the team thrived. Workload distribution improved, morale skyrocketed, and for the first time in years, we felt like a team. And it showed in the quality of our work. Our clients were happier than they had been in a long time, and it brought in more business for the company. As for Sandra, well, she did serve 5 years in prison for breaking into our house. And when she got out, she had a hell of a hard time finding a new job. No one wanted to hire her as everyone in town knew what kind of boss she was. Her fiancé had left her and her family cut her out of their lives. In the end, she was forced to get work as a server at a local diner. Every time I pass by the place, she is inside frowning. She looks truly miserable, and I know that she is making a lot less than what she was at Horizons Consulting. When my maternity leave ended, I returned to a transformed workplace. My new office was spacious and filled with thoughtful baby gifts from my colleagues. Thank you.
You've earned it. Plus, I have you to thank for my new job.
As I settled back into work, I couldn't help but reflect on how far we'd come. Sandra had once been the center of our universe, dictating our lives through fear. Now, she was gone, replaced by a leader who valued and respected us. Life isn't perfect, but it's a lot closer to balance now. I have a healthy baby, a supportive husband, and a workplace where I'm valued. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that no matter how dark things seem, there's always a way forward. I was thinking of going to the restaurant where Sandra works, order food from her, and cause a huge scene by claiming that she insulted me and threw water on me, so I can report her to management and get her fired. What do you think, guys?